Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to work on something really simple but really pretty for your Christmas tree, or for your window if you prefer it there, an icicle. So let's turn down and I'll show you what we're going to do. So as you can see, I have a spool of wire here. This is 18 gauge, and I am simply going to, I don't know why this keeps doing that, but anyway, we're going to just take some wire off of our spool here. Just feed it off. I'm not sure how much we're going to need, so this is why I'm doing this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and straighten this wire up. I'm just going to work right on this spool like this. This is 18 gauge. And we're going to straighten this as much as we can. And then I'm going to feed the beads on from the smallest to the largest. And we're going to start with this bead cap. Then I think this crystal and this other little bead cap here. This white crystal. Then we're going to take this bead cap. If it'll go on here, it looks like it might want to work it a bit. Then the pearl and the other bead cap that is like that. Now these are all three about the same size, and so it's just a preference of how I fed them onto here. It's not something you have to do any particular way. So then I'm going to put on, I think, and then we'll put, no, this one. Come on, go down. The pearl. Now these are glass pearls, obviously, so let's see, there should have been one more like this one here, but since I don't see one more like it, I'm going to pull that off and use one of these instead. Put this down. Now we're going to go with this big pretty crystal. We'll put this spacer on here. The big pretty crystal. Other spacer. Then the pearl. Now I do want the pearl to have a bead cap. Let's see if this will work for it, or if it's too the pearl isn't going to go on there. It's got a too small of a hole. Oh, well, maybe it will. I just had to push it the other direction. And then looks like I have a couple of extra caps here. This cap is going to go with this big white one here. Where did I not put caps at? Looks like this white one and this pearl. That's fine. Do you like those? That's how we're going to put the bead strand now. So now that I've got that made, I know how long my bead strand is. So let's measure that. And it's about 4 inches. We want some up at the top for our loop. And then we're going to want at least double the 4 inches, so another 8 or so inches of, oops, I'm knocking my beads off, but that's all right. We'll put them back on if they come off. About another 8 inches. Actually, let's just put the beads back on. Those were extra, weren't they? And what we're going to do is we're going to let these slide down. It doesn't matter because they're not going off of this tube. for this line of wire here, and we're going to do a wrap to loop up at the top. So we're going to bend it over, and we're going to make a relatively good sized wrap loop. So I am going to get my small bell baking pliers. We're going to use this bigger one here. Up and over and around. Bring her over. Bring her around like so. Make sure she's pretty even here. And then we're going to wrap this loop here. Stay with pieces. So now wrap this. Oh, come on you. And we want like 3 wraps here probably. Oop. Cut this last bit off here. And tuck it in. Now that we've got that done, we're going to straighten this because it's not straight. I can feel it's crooked. I just straightened it up some. So feels like this may not be all the way tucked either. There we go. So we'll just knock our beads back up to there. And we want to leave a little room because we're going to be wrapping around these beads as we come back up to the top. And we're going to wrap a little bit more up here so that we'll fasten our wire up there. So there's one other thing we can do here, and that is, as well as leave this some extra wire, is we can make a wrap loop right here too, if we want to do that. And that way we can put a little dangle on the bottom if we want. I don't always do so, but every once in a while it's fun to do something like that. So let's give ourselves some room in here. We probably don't need an atrocious lot, maybe 1/4 inch or so. We'll bend her over here, and we'll make a little wrapped loop down here too. And I'm going to use the smaller of our 2 sides this time. Now this one's going to be a little trickier to wrap because I've got the whole spool sitting here. So you have an option now, since you are where you want your beads at. You need it probably about twice again as much as the beads to do your wrapping, maybe even 3 times. So your beads are 4 inches, so you want at least 8, maybe 10 inches of wire. It's better to throw some away than not have enough. So I'm going to cut 10 inches of wire. In fact, I think I'll cut about 11 because I'm going to do that wrapped loop right there. So I want to have enough room to do that as well. So now that we've got that cut, I am going to do my wrapped loop. We'll grab our pliers and we'll hold on to this side while we bring this over. And I'm going to do this by hand because when I do it with the pliers, it tends to bend it somewhat. But I notice I've already slid down some, so we're going to pull that up. So to pull that up, put your pliers on one side of the wire and then put it on your, there, like so. So we're just going to do 1 or 2 wraps here at the bottom to have a wrapped loop here. And now that we've got that, we're going to let the beads come down, and I'm going to straighten this out. It's crooked. There we go. Now we're going to come and start wrapping. So we'll push the first set of beads down, bring our wire around, just wrap it around, and go, since I have a bead cap there, I want to go right here between where the two are at. Come on, baby, go down there. Then I'm going to go around. Now I'm working with 18 gauge. You might want to do 20 gauge because it is easier to work with and it will wrap around easier. So now around here, get as close to that bead as you can get. Up again. Now this one has got bead caps again, so you want to make sure that you go around the bead caps. Now you're going to go, this one has no bead caps, so up between here, up again around here, around this one, up and around here, and lastly around here, and then you're going to wrap 2 or 3 times around the neck here. And then we'll cut this excess off and tuck it in. See, I had a couple of inches. I didn't need to add that extra inch that I added, but you never can tell. So, and if I had wrapped it tighter, which you can do, you can do more wraps around it than I did, it would have, let's tuck you in there. There we go. Now we need to straighten this, because see, I'd crooked it. That's not a word, Rose. I made it crooked. There we go. Now we've got these straight, but our little loop down here is now crooked, so we want to straighten it some. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get these straight onto each other. See, now this side does not have wraps, this side does. Now if you had wanted to go all the way around in a circle, you can do that, but you would have needed, of course, more wire. So our next step is decide what we're going to use for this little dangle down here. And I might just use a small crystal and pearl. So let's go get one of those. So I have gotten a pearl, a little crystal, 2 bead caps, and a ball head pin. This ball head pin has a little bend in it, so I'm going to take my flat nose and squish it a little bit, see if I can get that little bend out. Not bad. So then we're going to put these on here, and then we're going to put them on the end here. Now I have done something else while we were gone, and that is I twisted my wire up. See how my little loops now, my wrap are now a little bit more twisted. That's because I took my icicle like this and just twisted it around so I could get some more movement in it. Now you don't want to do that too much. I do it again, except for I think I'm pretty tight now, and if I do it too many times, what happens is you get it too tight and you start possibly breaking your pieces here, which we don't want to do. So I'm now going to wrap this guy up with the little guy on the bottom, a bead cap, sort of a flat bead cap, but it's still a bead cap that goes over these small things. Come on, you. And that looks like it's crooked, so let's see if we can get it to feel a little straighter. Well, it might feel straighter once we get it on. If not, then we'll straighten it then. So we bend this over. I've got my regular bell making pliers. I'm gonna grab hold of that, pull it around, bring her down, bring her over, and I'm going to leave a gap because we're going to feed it onto the bottom of our icicle here. Oops, I got that a little crooked. So we'll put this back in and just twist it up some. That's better. And then we slide it on here. I obviously didn't leave that big of a gap. Come on, baby, go through. There we go. Now I will grab our little strand where it comes together, squish it down together, and take our second pair of pliers and wrap. So I get that wrapped all the way. We'll trim off the excess. Tuck her in. And there's our little dangle. We're crooked down here, so let's straighten her up. And there is our icicle with the little dangle on the bottom. Now we just have one more thing to do, and that is to make it a hanging loop. So what we'll need to do that is 3 more inches of our 18 gauge wire. So we make sure this end is good. There we go. Get this as straight as possible and cut 3 inches. So the first thing we're going to do is we take our double-sided one here. We make a large loop on this end, like so, just a large single loop. And then we're going to break the neck so we have a nice loop here. Then we're going to take our wire mandrel. I'm going to go up here relatively close to the top. And we're going to face it this direction and then just bend this around in a loop. And in fact, I don't think I made as big a loop as I want, so we'll go up to the next one. Go like so. Now, because I want this to be more straight down here, I'm going to take my finger, see how I have it sitting right here, and bend it outward some. So we have like a hook. See? Hook. Now, I'll take my smaller size of my mandrel, and I'm going to make another little loop on this side. This is more a decorative loop than a necessary loop. It's just to make sure we have the nice prettiness here. It's not quite closed, so there we go. And I think I need a more of a downhill here at the top here, so we'll bring this around a little more. That's good. We have our hook. So now we just open our hook up at the eye on our hook like we would any jump ring or anything. Drop our icicle onto there and close her up. And there we have our icicle with our hook all ready to go on the tree. So here is the looks of it, the whole thing. Isn't that pretty? So here we go. Here is our really pretty white and clear crystal icicle. Now I will say that because this has got the crystals in it, this will throw rainbows. So if you want it in your window, then rather than on your tree, it would look very pretty there as well. Isn't that pretty? So very simple to make. Actually, I left it on the spool. You don't have to do that. You can measure how much your bead strand's going to be. Take them back off if you want. And then just measure out twice as much wire as, well, I did a little over twice as much because it was 4 inches and I made 11 inches, but I cut 2 inches off at the end there, probably 2 inches anyway. So you could just go double plus a little bit. Actually, how much was this extra bit? 2 inches. If it had been another inch, I could have used it for the hook. But, so there we go. I cut about 11 inches to do my 4-inch spin, the spin of my 4-inch. You could obviously take 2 inches off of that. So I would still go with 10 inches if you're doing a 4-inch icicle of extra, just to make sure you have enough space. And I will say that I used 18 gauge wire, but I know a lot of people who use 20 gauge, and it's easier to work with. So if you wanted to make this with 20 gauge rather than 18, well, that would work fine. And I forgot to work harden my hook, so I will probably do that right now. Of course, all you have to do is put it on the edge of a steel block and give it a couple of whacks with your nylon jaw hammer. So, nylon jaw hammer, bang, 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 flip it over, bang, 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 bang. When you're doing it when it's already hooked on, like I just did, make sure that you hang the icicle off the side so that you're not going to accidentally bang it. If you do accidentally bang it, you'll probably break something. So just be careful of that. And yeah, there's our pretty icicle. Now it feels like it's crooked a little bit to me, but I keep straightening it and then it still feels crooked, so I don't know. Anyway, there we go. Isn't she pretty? This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.